setting up your meeting for Facebook Live.
All right. Hi, this is the Youth Greens of Ohio. We're live streaming to talk about voter suppression. I have Austin Bashore here and Aidan Raymond. I'm going to be asking them questions about voter suppression, how it affects the Green Party and individuals in the United States. Austin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Austin Bashore. I am a Central Committee member of the Ohio Green Party. I joined the Green Party in 2015 during the Jill Stein campaign. In 2018, I ran as state representative in the Ohio 75th District as the Green Party candidate. Currently, I am working with the International Committee of the Green Party of the United States for the Green Parties of the Asia Pacific, and I am working in the Ohio Green Party as the interim leader of the Young Greens.
Aidan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Aidan Raymond. I help run the Clark County Ohio Green Party Facebook and Twitter pages. I got introduced to the Green Party in 2019. Before then, I was a Libertarian, then a Republican before that. So Green Party helped me radicalize further left, and that's pretty much it about me.
And I just joined the Green Party after the 2020 election because I realized Democrats don't care about us just like Republicans don't. Okay. Austin, what is voter suppression to you? What do you think it is?
So voter suppression to me is an effort by the organized state or the state parties to prevent and control the free elections that liberal democracies are supposed to have. When we have political parties or the government actively silencing electoral opposition or disenfranchising, making it harder for people, no matter their community, to vote in a liberal democracy.
And Aidan, what do you think voter suppression is?
In my opinion, voter suppression is the suppression of votes against a minority, say what the GOP is trying to do right now, and also somewhat of what the DNC is doing with their campaign finance section of HR 1, trying to silence third parties.
All right. Next question. Can capitalism exist without involving voter suppression? Aidan?
Capitalism, well, I think it can, because places like Sweden, they have a lot of party support for third parties. There's a Green Party of Sweden, there's a Liberal Party of Sweden, there's a Democratic Party of Sweden, and there's a Conservative Party of Sweden, and there's a lot more than that too. Other places, usually over in England, have a lot of political parties, and they're under a capitalist society, and they have party representation, they have people representation. It's just an involvement of far right, far left, and in the middle. So it could.
Right, Austin? Do you think capitalism can exist without voter suppression?
I think the system of capitalism and the production for profit does push forward the sense of voter suppression when we have candidates and parties that go outside the status quo, such as the Green Party, Socialist Party, Party for Socialism and Liberation, the Communist Party. We've seen through history the act of party suppression and its links to voter suppression as well. When you have a radicalized base of, for example, the Communist Party getting labor unions and workers radicalized in running candidates for local elections and winning. The Democrats and Republicans automatically, during the Red Scare, started freaking out about this perceived threat to their control of the bourgeoisie democracy, the rule of party elites and the capitalist interests. So I think capitalism does exacerbate the situation to an extent, but as Aidan said, there are plenty of capitalist countries that have functioning multi-party democracies. South Korea, for example, not the most radically socialist country in the world. In fact, it's one of the most capitalist countries in the world, has a functioning multi-party democracy where, 25% of their seats in parliament are proportional representation. Like you mentioned, Northern Europe has vibrant, functioning left-wing socialist green parties in their parliaments. Canada also has a vibrant multi-party democracy, even though it's first past the post. So capitalism only helps to exacerbate the system when you have parties that oppose the fundamental economic structure of the country.
Which that leads me to my next question. So with capitalism, the rich get all the resources. So do we think it's a good idea for companies who have tons of money to get involved in voter issues? For example, Coca-Cola and Delta getting involved with supporting Black Lives Matter in Georgia and against voter suppression, but then also there's been examples of companies obviously paying people off for votes. Do we think it's a good idea at all for companies to get involved in voting issues? Austin?
I don't think at all that's where we need to go. We need people power from the bottom up. Having companies and corporations endorse your efforts only seeks to delegitimize them. The biggest example I can think of right now is the gay rights movement. How every gay rights protest or pride event you go to nowadays is celebrate pride with Lockheed Martin, the war profiteers who are bombing Black and brown queer LGBT people abroad. Celebrate pride with PNC Bank, which are foreclosing lesbian, transgender, bisexual, gay people's houses and kicking them onto the streets. So the corporate backing of these social movements only seeks to delegitimize them and make sure that they are doomed to fail.
Aidan, what do you think about companies getting involved in voting issues? Do you either getting involved saying that they're either against the voter suppression in Georgia, or how in the past sometimes they are for paying people off to get certain people not to vote? What do you think? From you, Aidan.
In my personal opinion, companies, corporations, they shouldn't be involved in politics at all, because they're one of the main reasons there's only two parties representing the United States right now. They keep donating all of this corporate money, and parties like the Green Party and other smaller parties, they only take money from actual people instead of corporations. What I also agree with what Austin said. Companies have a play in voter suppression as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it on what I have to say.
All right. Okay, so we're going to take a little turn. How do you think the justice system is involved with voter suppression? Austin?
I think the act of voter suppression is extremely racial in the United States. More often than not, we see communities of color, Black and brown communities, African-American communities, immigrant communities who are often denied the right to vote, such as what's going on in Georgia right now with their huge voter suppression bill that's being lobbied by the absolutely pathetically by the aggressors in the Republican Party who can't win an election on their own. So they decide, hey, what are they going to do? They're going to try and disenfranchise as many people as possible so that magically someday they can win. It is sad to me that they have to go that route. It's not democratic. It's not free. It's not fair elections. The United States has bombed Hong Kong. The United States has sanctioned Hong Kong. The United States has bombed Libya. We have attempted 600 assassination attempts in Cuba, all for less. And the idea that we are spreading free and fair democracy around the world is a farce, and something that the American citizens need to realize that we've been lied to.
We are definitely a big hypocrite of free and fair elections.
Yeah. We have dropped
nuclear
waste on Yugoslavia for much less than what some of these bills have introduced are doing.
Yeah. Aidan, how has our justice system impacted voter suppression?
Well, Austin pretty much stole the words out of my mouth, but I'll take an example from last year's election when police and Republican voters tried to intimidate African Americans and Latinos, all of, sorry, I'm trying to hold myself from not going off, but
oh, please do.
It's outrageous that police that are supposed to protect us helped Republicans intimidate Black voters on election day. I'm pretty sure that happened down in Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana. Those are the states I heard that from.
All right. Next question. Should anyone be barred from voting due to their citizenship status in the United States? Aidan?
Well, I sort of made a post regarding this. My personal opinion is that if you pay taxes, you should be able to vote.
Even if they are under 18?
I think the actual minimum age for someone to vote should be 16, because the youth is definitely suppressed a lot. Most people get their first job around that age of 16, and that's when they start paying taxes, and yet they can't have a say on tax levies, tax renewals, presidents, people that can raise or lower taxes. That's just my personal opinion.
Austin?
I think that our democratic system in the United States should be open to those people. There is no reason why international college students that are studying in the United States for a 4-year program can't participate in at least local democracy up until mayor. South Korea, again, has a system in place where permanent residents of the country can vote in local elections. They just can't vote for parliament or the presidency. And I think that's something we really should be looking at introducing into the United States and Ohio, opening our democracy to those types of people. It would actually encourage people to go and get permanent residency and fulfilling immigration statuses that can help to make our democracy a more fair and open system. We have in the United States a problem when only 40% of the country is voting. And we have to sit here and ask ourselves, why? Why is 40% of the country, only 40% of the country voting? And it's things like closing down polling locations a week before elections. People just not feeling represented in the system. They don't see candidates that they like. And also not making voting day a national holiday so that workers can't get the time off from work to go cast their ballot. Also, online e-democracy is something that we need to be bringing into the 21st century to where you can vote online. There's so much personal proving, like identification resources that you need to even like shop on Amazon. So we can bring that into our democracy and our democratic system so that we can have most perfect system.
How would we go about trying to get the lawmakers to see that this would encourage people to get citizenship and it would be safe and there wouldn't be as much voter fraud as they said there was in the last election? How would we go about trying to get it organized?
I have no faith in attempting to organize Republicans on this issue.
True.
Unless we convince them that like refugees from the Soviet Union or like refugees from China are more likely to vote conservative. When that's what we do see, first generation immigrants from those countries who have nationally liberated themselves from the capitalist system are the ones who are the reactionary Batista supporters, you know, that type of stuff from the Cuban Americans. But again, I have no faith in organizing Republicans on this issue. The Democratic Party, I don't know if they can be pushed on this issue, but we just need to spread the awareness of that people living in the United States for long periods of times, permanent residents, master's college students, four-year degree college students deserve the right to have a say in our democracy if they're going to live here for a long time, if they're going to pay taxes, and if they are going to be more American than most Americans that I know.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay. Next question. How would you explain to someone who doesn't think that the voter suppression laws that are happening in Georgia and around the nation, how would you explain to them that they do have racist intent when they're say, no, they're just trying to make the voting safer, more secure? How would you explain to them that that in fact is not the point? Austin?
We have to look at the process of the laws and who it is exactly targeting. If it is targeting high income white residents, if it is targeting people with felonies, if it is targeting people with felonies, we see our police system more often than not targets Black and brown people for such simple things as like marijuana possession. And it takes power, the Georgia bill takes power away from local officials and allows the Republican Party to replace them with partisan hacks of their choosing. It makes voting extremely inconvenient and uncomfortable, especially in high populated city centers, which target African American voters. And also it makes it harder to cast a physical ballot. So we have people who have to wait in long lines to vote. They're getting disenfranchised. People giving water and snacks to people waiting in those hour-long lines is now a felony under this bill if it is passed. So it just closing down polling stations in minority communities is racist. We have to understand that first and foremost.
Aidan?
Pretty much,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, you're fine. Pretty much what Austin said. Most of that bill that the GOP introduced in Georgia aims at places that vote more left than usual. And like he said, it literally giving people water and snacks and waiting lines a felony. Like, that makes no sense at all.
All right, next question. How has the Green Party been subject to voter suppression? If it has, how? Aidan?
Well, just last year it was suppressed. Three states, the Democratic Party tried to kick the Green Party off the ballot by suing them in courts. And by doing so, they even paused early voting. They tried super hard to kick us off the ballot. And some paid, now that we know that they're paid, Democratic influencers on social media even try to blackmail us, saying that we're just a second Republican Party when we're nowhere near that.
Austin?
Yeah, it's weird. I always get the, oh, you're a Republican operative. First off, the Green Party is not a Republican operative party. Our values go in complete opposite directions from the Republican Party, and we are not Democrat offshoots. We're not angsty liberals. Most of us have never been Democrats. I've never been a Democrat. But yeah, the Green Party has been definitely a victim of voter suppression, specifically in Ohio in 2004. During the recount, there's an issue in Cuyahoga County where the poll workers were supposed to randomly select ballots for the recount. However, they worked behind closed doors, and for 3 days, they picked ballots they knew would cause discrepancies when checked by hand. And the Green Party, we filed a lawsuit that year saying that, hey, something shady is going on in the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. And that year, the ballot manager for Cuyahoga County Board of Elections and the elections coordinator for that county were both charged with felony counts of neglectful misconduct of an elections employee, and both served 18 months in prison for that because they were cherry picking the ballots for recounting, which, you know, obviously is a form of voter suppression if you're going to pick and choose which votes are counted in that county. So as Aidan said, in just 2020, we were kicked off the ballot in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. And then there was an attempt in multiple states to get the Green Party off the ballot in places like Texas. Luckily, that didn't go through. But definitely the Democratic Party seeks to quash any opposition to the left of them. And they see the Green Party as a growing threat to their hegemony and their power on left-wing politics, even though the Democratic Party is not a left-wing party.
No. Okay. What are ways we can prevent or help prevent voter suppression? Aidan?
Some ways we can prevent voter suppression is more party representation. More third parties, minor parties, whether they're right wing, left wing, centric. That would help because we only have two parties to choose from. One's a far right, one's center right. And also another thing that we could do is sort of what the Democrats are proposing, to extend early voting periods, which is one of the few good ideas they've ever had in their entire lifetime. Yeah, early voting is always a good thing, mostly because sometimes long lines suck.
All right. Austin, how can we help prevent voter suppression?
Well, good thing in a place like the United States, the only way we can go on this issue is up. The first thing we need to do is push to make Election Day a national federal holiday. So all workers, all parents, all people can go and vote and take the time to vote. We need to expand, not decrease, voting absentee ballot. The number one people who vote absentee, believe it or not, are US soldiers abroad. So limiting absentee ballots and stuff like that only hurts the people defending our freedoms abroad. We also need to work to make, at local levels and in state legislatures, a representative multi-party democracy that we see so many countries having. This includes proportional representation. So for example, in Ohio, we have 100 seats in our state legislature. So opening it up to 117 seats to where if a party gets 5% of the vote in proportional representation, they get 2 or 3 seats in the state house. Also, in single district elections, we can have ranked choice voting. It's not I'm voting for A because I hate B the most, or I'm voting for party B because party A is accused of sexual assault, but party B is a party of misogyny. We don't have those arguments anymore. With ranked choice voting, you rank your candidates 1 through, however many, 1 to 4 on which ones you like, which ones you don't like. So if you like the Democratic candidate, you can rank Democrat number 1. If you like the Green, you can rank Green number 2, Libertarian 3, Republican 4, so that if nobody gets 50% of the vote in round 1, the least performing candidate is knocked off, and whoever voted 1 for that candidate, their vote gets transferred for 2 to 2. And that keeps going and going and going until we have a candidate that finally reaches the threshold of 50% of the vote. We need to have Libertarian Party, Green Party, American Solidarity Party active in the state and promoted in that way, as well as along with fail-safe voting procedures, so that eligible voters know who they're actually voting for. And same-day registration can also help. Over 75% of Americans want open debates, and open debates is also one of the most important things that we can have to achieving open party and open democracy in the United States.
I also think a good idea would be automatically registering people as they, whenever they turn 18, or if we move the voting age to 16, which would be great, as 16. All right, so we have 4 minutes left. I say we give closing remarks, and then we'll be good. Aidan, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, actually, it's more about ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting actually is starting to gain a lot more bipartisan support from Republican voters, Democratic voters, Libertarian voters, all of them. Even Republican Senator John McCain once said that ranked choice voting is a fairer voting method. Elected leaders will be more likely to listen to all the people instead of just the few.
All right, Austin, do you have any closing remarks?
From the Arctic to the Amazon, our world is on fire. Scientists say we have just 10 years to mitigate runaway climate disaster before it is too late. We need a politics and a people and a society and a party that is willing to fight for the environment like our lives depend on it, because they do. Children cannot vote, the planet cannot vote, and our trees cannot vote. So it is up to us to determine our future and put our future within our hands. We need open democracy to help create a lively system where the people feel represented, where the people feel that they can trust their politicians, and where a system where we look for a sustainable and bright future. Currently, Congress only has an 8% approval rating amongst the American people, yet a near 90% re-election rate for members of Congress. If we cannot see this as a system failing the most basic fundamental building blocks of democracy, I do not know how this failed state can continue.
All right, thank you for tuning in to the Young Greens of Ohio live stream. We will see you here next month sometime. We will discuss it, and have a great day.